welcome to all of you. As Ms. Wood has indicated, I've been here before, and I'm so glad to be back. It's like being amongst friends. So I am glad that you're here and you've chosen to once again take these 30 minutes to invest in yourself, invest in your life, and in your relationships. So as the title indicates, we are going to continue to speak about trust. If it's your first time here, don't worry about it. I got you covered. I'm going to do some recapping. But if it is your third time with me, don't worry about that as well. I am going to add and build on to what we have talked about before. And I'm hoping that you've had an opportunity to implement some of the things that we've talked about, the keys that we've talked about. I've given you things that you can do, the first two, and today is going to be no different. There's going to be a walk away that you can take with you, or a takeaway that you can take with you, where you can begin to implement this into your life immediately and begin to have the relationships that you so desire. So again, I want to thank you for being with us, and we're going to get started. We're talking about trust, and we have identified trust as not an emotion, but rather a mental concept. It is when we put together three things, which are an association, a stereotype, and an ideal, and we create this mental picture. We've discussed how we take this mental picture and we use it against our experiences with others, and that helps us determine whether or not we can trust them. And because it is something that we're measuring against our perspective, how we see them, we've emphasized that trust is not an emotion, and it's not how you feel about that person, but more so how you see that person in your perspective, in your mind. And we also talked about that everyone's here, but there are two categories. And so the two categories of people that are interested in trust and you signed up for trust. One is trying to determine, can I trust this person? It may be a new relationship, it may be an established relationship, but trust may have been broken. And so you're here trying to identify, how can I know if I can trust someone? And then maybe there are others here that have been the offender, if we may say, and has called someone to not trust you anymore. And you want to know, how can I regain trust? How can I get them to see me in a different way after an offense, after a mistake? And I want them to know that's not who I am. What can I do to get that person to regain? And so we're going to continue to talk about that and give you both tools, regardless of which category that you're in. We're going to give you both tools so that you can either learn to trust someone or regain the trust. Charles H. Green, he is a writer, and he wrote The Trusted Advisor, and he stated that it takes two to do the trust tango. There's the one who takes the risk, and that is the one who's learning to trust. And then there's one who is to be found trustworthy, and they both have a part to do. And so I want to emphasize that for two reasons, because I want to say that trusting someone is a risk. And if you feel a little scared about it, then that's okay. That's normal. But you can have the tools to say, I can go in this, and I can go in equipped to knowing what I'm looking at, to know that I can observe the right things, I can ask the right questions, and that's going to help me determine how I can make this decision. But it is very much a risk to trust people, and we do it every day. But sometimes we come against situations where it seems a little bit more riskier and a little bit more scarier. And that's absolutely okay if you are equipped and ready to take that risk on. And also the other reason I wanted to highlight that is because it does take two. A lot of times when there's an offense or a mistake, a lot of people think, the person who made the offense has to work hard to prove themselves. But the person who's seeking to trust again has quite a bit of work to do themselves, and they don't get off scot-free. And so I'm hoping as we are walking through this that you will be able to pick out what it is that I need to do. If I'm regaining trust or if I'm learning to trust somebody, there's something that I have to do. And if you take your part on, I think that you will find the risk worth taking, and that you'll be able to land in a place that's safe for you and in a safe relationship. As we move through, if there's a question, something that I may mention that maybe you didn't quite catch, or if you want me to expound on something else, you can always use the Zoom chat function, or you can text your questions to 770-242-0001. Again, that's 770 242-0001, and we will make sure to answer your questions at the end of the presentation today. So for those who are building trust, I hope that you have had an opportunity to use your trust wheel. We talked about you're taking that mental picture, you're taking those associations, those stereotypes, those ideals, and mixing them together, and you're putting them on the trust wheel. You're having experiences with persons, and you're coming back and you're saying, did they keep their word? Did they follow through like they said they were going to do? Was I surprised by anything that I met in encountering them? And then we're going to alter that picture, because now we have knowledge to add to the association, the stereotypes, and the ideals. So I'm hoping that you guys had an opportunity to take that mental picture and put it on the trust wheel. We also talked about the key to building trust is keeping your head before your heart and pacing yourself. So these trust wheels that you're using is really different experiences. And so you're giving yourself many experiences to actually determine whether or not this person is trustworthy. And in order to talk about pacing yourself, we use this acronym, PACE. We talked about participating and putting in the trust and relationship, giving a person the opportunity to make themselves trustworthy. We talked about anticipating the best, even though they may have made a mistake, giving them a second chance and anticipating that they're going to get it right. We talked about cooperating with the building of the trust, where we are also being a part of the trust building process. And then we talked about evaluating the trustworthiness of your partner. That's when we're going to come back once a month, maybe every 6 weeks. We mentioned we can't do it on a day-to-day basis, but we should stop and pause and say, how did this person do over the last 30 days? How did they do over the last 60 days to determine whether or not they're trustworthy? And so today we want to expound on all of that and give you more tools in your observation or in your investigations of, is this person a trustworthy person? And so when keeping with the observation, there's something I like to share with my clients all the time, which is, you know, when you talk to people, people will tend to tell on themselves, and they tell on themselves gently by the stories that they tell you, the experiences that they've had. They may be talking about someone else, but they're also a character in that story. And you want to listen to the part that they may have played. And the other ways that people tell on themselves is how they interact with others. So if you're out on a date, if you are at your spouse's family reunion, and you or your spouse's business function, watching how this person engages with other people is very much a clue as to how they will engage with you. So if they are maybe telling white lies to their boss, to their mother as to why they couldn't visit, you might want to pay attention to that and say, you know what, I might be next. This person might not be lying to me now, but I know that is something that they participate in. Little white lies. I know it's something that they're capable of. And so I'm going to give you a few questions to think about. And you can think about these things as we're talking through them, if someone's popping up in your mind, to help you make an observation or investigation of, is this person a trustworthy person? And if they've done it before, will they do it again? And if they've done it to others, what makes me exempt? And so one of these things is, does this person keep their promises? If they're promised they're going to do something, do they typically keep that promise? Do they keep their word? If they're going to participate in a certain event, if they're going to provide a certain thing for certain persons, are they there? Are they meeting those deadlines that they set for themselves even? No one makes anyone make a promise. It's something that comes out of their heart, hopefully, and out of their mouths. And so are they keeping their promises? And if that person seems to be a good promise keeper, then it's highly likely that what they tell you that they're going to do, they will do that. The second question might be, does this person show empathy towards others? Empathy is similar to sympathy, but it's also going beyond. It's more than just feeling sorry for them and walking away, but it may be extending a hand, going the extra mile, or extending themselves to help other people. Do I see this person do this? Do they acknowledge things that may need some attention, but that's it? They just kind of acknowledge it? Or do I see them take a step It doesn't mean that they have to be a philanthropist or they have to give all they have, but do you see them extend beyond themselves, maybe even sometimes inconvenience themselves in order to help somebody else? And if that's the case, if you see that person doing that, then it's highly likely that they will do the same for you. What may show up on the outside of the house will also show up on the inside of the house. And so if you're not quite seeing that, then that might tell you what level of risk you may be taking as you continue to engage into a further relationship with this person. So another question you might want to ask someone is, observe or investigate, is, does this person show they are aware of how their actions affect other people? And so if they're late, are they aware that someone may be counting on me and that my tardiness impacts the grand scheme of things? And if they are, if you bring that to their attention, what is their response to that? Oh, they'll get over it, or oh, they'll be all right, or oh, they'll figure it out. All of those things, which seem very small in the day-to-day, can add up when you decide to be in a closer, intimate relationship with a person. You most certainly do not want someone who's close to you, a partner, a spouse, a best friend even, to say that of you. You know, oh, you'll figure it out, or you'll get over it. Because if they've done it there, we can assume that they will do it here. If they've done it with others, we can assume that they will do it with us. I have 3 more questions. It's not an exhaustive list, but I think it's a pretty good start. The fourth question is, does this person run away from problems? When they can foresee things, do they tend to jump cities? This is where you want to listen to their stories, you know, where they have lived, why they left where they live. Maybe even if they have a project on the job, are they calling in sick because it seems to be too much or overwhelming? You want to pay attention to that, because every relationship has issues. It's not perfect every single day. It requires work. And so if there's a problem, there's a likelihood. We don't want to force people in any kind of category, but there's a likelihood that if problems arise within a relationship with a person, that they may just run away, that they may just terminate the relationship rather than addressing the issue or addressing the problem. The 5th question is, does this person take advantage of others? And this kind of goes with the 6th, so I'll tie them together. Does this person behave helpless or look for others to take care of them? That's important to note, because we talked about how relationships are a give and take, and that's very, very important. There will be sometimes seasons where you feel like you're giving and aren't receiving that much, but then the seasons change and that give and take comes back around. But I think it's difficult to endure a season if you've never seen a person engage in a give and take relationship. And if this person is somewhat entitled to or accustomed to people giving to them, pouring into them, completing tasks for them, then they're probably going to enter this relationship with the same expectation. They might not even be aware of it. They might not even say it, but the expectation is that you will probably give more to me than I give to you. Some of us counselors and psychologists, when we have couples come in and we're doing marriage counseling, we do inquire about this birth order, because a lot of times this is where you can see this. You can see the oldest child often giving more and the youngest child often taking more. Of course, there are exceptions to all of this, and that is not an excuse, but it is something to take into account, how this person interacts with others. Because how they do it here is how they will do it there, or how they do it with others is how they will do it with you. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for those who are seeking to determine if I can trust someone. As you're using this trust wheel, as you're pacing yourself, you want to begin to ask these type of questions. You want to up the investigation, up the observation, listen to what they're saying to you when they're telling a story about themselves, and they're telling a story about others, a story from the past. You want to look for these things. You want to look for keeping your word, empathy, helping others, being conscious of how their behavior impacts others, because it will ultimately impact you as well. Again, if you have any questions or if you need me to repeat any of those questions, you can use the Zoom chat feature to type out your question, or you can text your question to 770-242-0001. I'd like to now take a moment and talk with those who are seeking to gain trust. Those who may have made a mistake or who may have betrayed another, and you want to know, how can I get back? We've talked about the 4 ingredients to change, and that there's new insight. You got to gain new information. You got to have an effort to correct that which was broken. And then you got to give yourself time and practice. You got to give the other time to trust that you again, and you got to give yourself time, and you have to practice on it. We talked about the key to all of this is work. It is not easy, and you have to be mindful of it and keep it in the forefront. If the relationship is important to you, keep it in the forefront nearly daily. So you have to do the work. And it starts with your heart and your intentions. We talked about your consciousness and your inner feelings, listening to that, not shooing it away, but thinking about feelings of others, thinking about the ramifications of your actions, and looking to give rather than to receive. And so now that you know that that's something you were working on, now your partner may have some information that they're going to look for, and hopefully that's going to come together for you guys. But today I want to talk about what a trustworthy partner looks like. And maybe your goal is not marriage, but this acronym is marriage, MARRIAGE. Nevertheless, every single trait that I'm getting ready to talk about is important, whether we're talking about a best friend, a coworker, a family relationship, or even a marriage relationship. So I'm going to name all of them, and then I'm going to quickly go through them so that we can make sure we have time for questions. So what a trustworthy partner looks like is marriage again. We're going to spell that out. The M is for maturity. The A is for adaptable. The R is for relationship skills. Another R is for responsible. The I is for inner confidence. The A is for anger management. The G is for gracious. And E is for emotionally stable. So we talked about it's important to do the work, and that the work is all the time. So just be transparent really quick. I was preparing for this, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, ooh, I might need to work on a couple of these. Now, I'm not going to tell you which ones I need to work on, but if I got to do the work, I know that you have to do the work. Even if the teacher has to work on this constantly, I can imagine if it's not in the forefront of you all the time, how much more. So I think everybody has an opportunity to grow here. And when we're talking about maturity, we're talking about, has this person fully developed? Nobody's perfect, but are they on their way? Do they act their age, per se? Are there certain things that you think they should know in terms of relating to others, and are they walking those things out? Are they adaptable? Are they flexible? Can they deal with change, and can they mold that without it being completely upside down in their lives when something changes? Are they adaptable when plans change, or homes change, or jobs change? That's going to be important long-term relationship-wise. Do they have relationship skills? Are they a good speaker? Do they only speak about themselves, or are they always telling me what I feel and what I think? Listener, okay? Do they pause? Are they always interjecting? Are they able to even take advice, maybe? And then, are they responsible? That goes back to, are they able to meet deadlines? Are they able to work and continually work? Are they able to pay bills and continually pay bills? These are the things that matter once you get past all the roses and being in love. Inner confidence. Does this person have a confidence that exudes them, that no matter what's going on around them, they're not looking for you to build them up, but they already have a level of confidence within themselves and their abilities and their talents and in their skills, and even where they're going in life. Anger management. Can they manage their anger in an appropriate way? It's not wrong to be angry. It's how we express that. And so is that person able to express anger in a way that's healthy and productive? Gracious. Is that person kind? That is what gracious means. But it also means, is that person forgiving? Can that person extend grace when I mess up? Or are they the ones that are always throwing it back up in your face and difficult to forgive? And then, are they emotionally stable? Are there a lot of highs? Are there a lot of lows? Does this person maybe suffer with some depression? And in the beginning, sometimes we may feel like we want to aid that person. But if you're especially thinking about marriage, you have to ask yourself, is that something I want to care for in the long scheme of things? And if it is, then go for it. But if it's not, then that's something that you have to address about the emotional stability of a person. So again, that's maturity, adaptability, relationship skills, responsible, inner confidence, anger management, gracious, and emotionally stable. If you have any questions about those, again, please use the Zoom chat feature, and I'm almost done. So go ahead and type that question out that you've been thinking about typing and haven't done yet. Go ahead and do it. Or you can text your questions to 770-242-0001. Again, to those who are seeking to build trust, keep your head before your heart. And those who are seeking to regain it, it is work. Do the work.